Welcome to the League of Nerds comic book segment number 154. I'm John Cooney here to talk to you about comics released the 31st of December 2014. So happy new year, everybody. There are very few books out this week, not even enough for a top 10, so I'll cover them all, beginning as usual with my first 5, meaning these are the first 5 books I intend to read this week, and I'll give you a little more depth on them, starting with at number 1, Batman Eternal number 39. Someone has pieced together the mystery behind the plot to crush Gotham City. Series co-writer James Tynion IV explained what we can expect from the series. Quote, "Right now we're picking up all the threads. Nothing is being left behind in this story. One of the things we'll see coming to a head very soon is a thread that goes all the way back to issue number 5, the nanobot virus that's been slowly seeping through Gotham that the Bat family still doesn't fully understand. On top of that, the biggest thing I'd have to say is that part of the fun on working on a project of this scale is there's a lot of major characters and major villains who haven't gotten their time in the sun yet. And I'm just saying there's a whole third act coming. This isn't the quiet act. This is the act where everything goes completely insane. This is the act where everything ratchets up 100%. It turns Gotham into the most dangerous place for Batman. There are things here that will set up everything that is to come. This and Endgame together sort of recast the whole corner of Gotham and what the series is going to be moving forward. I'm sure other people will have their individual threads to pay attention to, but right now all the threads are important. Every little mystery could become a big mystery. The misdirects could become incredibly important, and the things you think are incredibly important could become misdirects. Everything is fair game, so I'm just really excited for people to read it." Close quote. At number 2, we've got S.H.I.E.L.D. number 1, high-tech weapons, high-stakes missions, high-octane adventure. For the men and women of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's just another day in the field. Special Agent Phil Coulson brings together the best and brightest, the gifted and the elite, normal people and superhumans from across the Marvel Universe on an as-needed basis to confront, combat, and curtail dangers beyond the scope of any conventional peacekeeping force. Writer Mark Waid of Daredevil and a rotating crew of mission-specific top-flight Marvel artists make you one promise. Every issue, 20 pages, one mission, unlimited budget, unlimited imagination, 6 periods, and a helper monkey. Welcome to Level 8. Welcome to S.H.I.E.L.D. Series writer Mark Waid told CBR-TV about the series.
I really wanted to do this because I love the structure of one story and out. I love the idea of Coulson what I like about Coulson in the Marvel Universe, and this is our chance to really develop him. I know we've seen bits and pieces of him in the 616 Marvel Universe, but this is our chance to really flesh him out. And the same with the other Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV characters. This is our chance to put them in the main Marvel Universe and really do things with them that they don't have the time or budget to do on the TV show. What I like about Coulson is that for all of his gruffness and all of his very cool exterior, he's like the world's coolest comic fan because he knows everybody. He's got, he knows how their powers work. He knows how they do their things, and in a different way, because it doesn't mean he worships them. He worships Captain America, obviously, but it doesn't mean he loves the other ones as much. But that, like you and me, he sits around all the time thinking, okay, if Hulk and Thor fought, who would win? And he knows. So he's the perfect guy to go, okay, here's a situation. Magical terrorists have taken over Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum and he's not there. Who's your team? Right. Who do you put together to go in? So it's all one-act plays. I mean, that's really kind of what it is. The action is already started by the time you jump in on page 1. We know what the mission is, and it's a strike force, and you pick throughout the Marvel Universe. You got your main S.H.I.E.L.D. characters, but you also have guest stars in every issue. Very and cool. That's what appeals to me, is be able to hit the notes of those characters in a way that, I don't often see Dormammu and Quicksilver together. So what is that dynamic like?
Sure. At number 3, we've got all-new Miracleman Annual number 1. Joe Quesada illustrates Grant Morrison's Lost Miracleman story, a disturbing confrontation prior to the Battle of London. Peter Milligan and Mike Allred reunite for a new Miracleman classic, plus bonus material. Marvel Chief Creative Officer Joe Quesada discussed the development of this book. Quote, "I was reading an interview with Grant online and he talked about this story that never was, how he had written this Miracleman short story that was supposed to appear in the original run during the 1980s, and through a series of events it didn't get published. But then my interest really piqued when Grant said he was pretty sure he has the original manuscript somewhere in storage and just for laughs he might dig it up and post it online for fans to see the Miracleman story that never was. As I was reading this, Marvel had already acquired Miracleman. I thought, oh God, this is a really neat piece of history that I wasn't aware of. How great would it be to get that story, have it drawn, and finally publish it? Then my second thought was, I better call him before he puts it online. Grant was really receptive to the idea. He said it would be great to do, but that there were a couple of things. First of all, he had to find it, and it was going to take him some time. It was written on a typewriter, so he had to find hard copies. And then he asked if I would draw it, which I was more than happy to do because as a fan of both Grant and Miracleman, I couldn't think of a more ideal project worth sharpening up the old pencil for. I got an email from Grant and scans of these pages. They were yellowed and clearly written on an old school typewriter. It was like getting in a time machine and getting a script from a young Grant Morrison just breaking into the comics business. I was smiling from ear to ear." Close quote. At number 4, we've got X-O Manowar number 31, Armorines Attack. Eric of Dacia has laid waste to entire planets and defeated the universe's most skilled hunters, but how can he kill what he can't see? A strange new foe with a fiendishly familiar leader has unleashed a relentless offensive on Eric of Dacia, and he doesn't even know it yet. Be here for the deadliest foe X-O Manowar has battled yet as the Armorines continue their march towards Eric's destruction. Series writer Robert Venditti described the conflict with the Armorines, quote, "The Armorines will present challenges to the Manowar armor that he has not faced before, challenges we've not seen in the Valiant universe yet. It's going to be Earthborn, but it's a lot of things he hasn't faced, and in many ways it's Eric coming from where he comes from, dealing with things that are completely foreign to him. That's the way you attack Eric. You don't necessarily attack the armor, you attack the person inside it. What are his limitations? I don't want to get into what the Armorine's power set is, except to say that it's something we haven't seen in X-O Manowar in the Valiant universe, and maybe not even in the original Valiant universe. There are new concepts that we're dealing with. In terms of the characters inside the armor, they're military men. They're very mission-driven, they follow orders, and the problem they run into is the orders they're following come from an imbalanced industrialist who may not be the best person to be in the driver's seat. We'll see a lot in terms of who the Armorines are working for, who this industrialist is working for, and what his goals ultimately are. A lot of the mysteries are going to be revealed piece by piece, as well as the power set. I'm hoping that the arc, as I write it, will be done in a way where the powers themselves will be treated as revelations. There's a lot of mystery built into this one." Close quote. And at number 5, we've got Star Trek Planet of the Apes, number 1 of 5. It's the crossover nobody ever expected. Star Trek, the hope for the best of mankind's future. Planet of the Apes, a chilling look at the fall of humanity. How could these worlds possibly collide? What could possibly cause Captain Kirk and the crew of the Enterprise to side with Dr. Zaius to protect Ape City? And what does Colonel George Taylor have to say about it? It's a madhouse. A madhouse. This is being published through a partnership between Boom Studios, who has the license for Planet of the Apes, and IDW Publishing, who has Star Trek. Boom Studios CEO Ross Ritchie is excited by the crossover. Quote, "Before I could read comics as a child, I could watch science fiction on my television. My dad used to wake me up way past bedtime to watch Star Trek in syndication. It came on after the nightly news, and I took a Planet of the Apes lunchbox with me to kindergarten every day. Suffice it to say, teaming up these two titans of science fiction on the page in a way that they probably will never meet each other on the silver screen is a huge moment for me personally and emotionally." Close quote. IDW Publishing President and COO Greg Goldstein agrees, quote, "Planet of the Apes and Star Trek are groundbreaking science fiction properties and both deal with many of the same social issues and themes. A crossover between the two is a natural and long overdue." Close quote. For the best of the rest from DC Comics, we've got Earth 2 World's End number 13. Will Huntress become a casualty of war? And we've got New 52, Future's End number 35. The power shifts of the last few issues place on one man's shoulders the weight of protecting the world against the threat that destroyed Stormwatch. There's no stopping from here to the end. From Boom Studios, we've got Abigail and the Snowman number 1 of 4. Why we love it? From his acclaimed run on the Muppet Show comic book to his beloved Thor the Mighty Avenger, Robert Langridge has earned a reputation for telling classic all-ages stories filled with heart and humor. After working with Roger on Jim Henson's The Musical Monsters of Turkey Hollow, we couldn't wait to set him loose on his first creator-owned series since the Eisner Award-winning Snarked. The fact that there are Yetis in this only made us even more confident Roger's latest is going to be something special. Why you'll love it? The story of an imaginative young girl who befriends a sophisticated Yeti is perfect for fans of all ages classics like Monsters, Inc. and Lilo and Stitch, while Roger's fun, often hilarious art will be admired by fans who grew up on Calvin and Hobbes. What it's about? Abigail is a 9-year-old girl with a huge imagination who moves to a small town where she's the new kid at school, struggling to make friends. All that changes when she meets a Yeti named Claude, who has escaped a top-secret government facility. Abigail and Claude become the best of friends, but to make sure he can truly be free from the shadow men chasing him, they must go on an adventure to find Claude's real home. From Image Comics, we've got East of West number 16. The Apocalypse Year 2 begins in the oversized East of West number 16. Following the dramatic conclusion of Year 1, the Great Beast now roams the fractured United States of America. Deep into an all-consuming war between the splintered nations, the four horsemen move to further their individual agendas while resisting the inevitability of the message. And we've got Wytches number 1, Image First $1 edition. Across the globe, century after century, men and women were burned, drowned, hanged, tortured, imprisoned, persecuted, and murdered for witchcraft. None of them were witches. They died protecting a terrible and hidden truth. Witches, real witches, are out there. They are ancient, elusive, and deadly creatures that are rarely seen and even more rarely survived. Out in trades from Dark Horse Comics, we've got the massive Volume 4 Sahara trade paperback. Callum, Israel, and the crew of the Capitol face Arcady, Israel's former colleague, bent on revenge. When the Capitol is bombed, Callum and Mag head into post-crash Europe to confront Arcady, but what they ultimately discover may lead them to their long-lost ship, the Massive. Meanwhile, Mary appears in the Sahara Desert guarding a convoy of fresh water, holding a secret that might unravel Callum for good. Collects issues 19 through 24. And we've got X Volume 4 Better Off Dead trade paperback. Tango's gang was a handful, but the Akron and his army, the Chosen, are more powerful than any enemy X has ever faced. Betrayed or abandoned by his allies, X must face Arcadia's newest threat the old-fashioned way, alone. Collects issues 13 through 16. Okay, so that's essentially everything that's out this week, but I still separated the Marvel titles this week into their own video, as well as a separate video for DC, and even a video with the top independent publishers, and you can find them all on my YouTube channel at he'sgotissues.com. And we'll also have the links up on the leagueofnerds.com, our Facebook page, so be sure to like us there too. And of course, you can follow everything I'm reading on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, or Twitter. You can find links to everything in the About section at he'sgotissues.com. And a reminder that both He's Got Issues and the League of Nerds are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. So until next week, I'm John Cooney, and I've got issues.